How do you table select in live poker? So I got a list here of things that you should look for and a few things that tell you that it's not a good table. So first of all, how do you spot the right table? Well, you have a look at how the game goes. If you see a lot of pre-flop raises that get lots of action, that get called, even raised, that is a sign of a good table. So for example, if the raise sizes are at least 5 big blinds and players still call them. Then large pots where nobody folds is another one that's a telltale sign that it's a good game. If the pots get bigger and bigger and players still don't fold even when there are big bets flying out, very good sign. Drinking and talking at the table, this is not a must have, but this is usually also a good sign. If players laugh, if they have a good time, that usually means that the game is looser than if they're just all quiet and maybe with headphones on. And then deep stacks at the table, that's also a very important one. That doesn't necessarily mean that the game is loose, but it means that you can win a lot because you don't want shallow stacks. So I really try to avoid tables where the average stack is like 100 big blinds or even less than that. Definitely trying to have more. But there are a few things that make a table less good, and here we can have a look. And this is when players rarely call the pre-flop raises. So whether that's a big or a small pre-flop raise, but especially if it's a small raise, and still players just keep folding hand after hand, that usually means it's a very nitty game. That it just isn't that much money to be made in those. And then the opposite to the drinking players that are having a good time. This is a lot of silent players wearing headphones. They're just focused. They're not there to have a good time. They're there to win money. Not a great environment. Also, a lot of three bets and aggression. This can be a good thing if players don't know what they're doing. But usually at 1-2 or 1-3, if you have a lot of three betting going on and just a lot of aggression in general, that is a sign that players are a little bit better. And when someone is aggressive, it's just harder to win against them unless, as I said, they don't know what they're doing. They're just silly aggressive. But if they know what they're doing, that's not a great table. Then also nobody making any obvious mistakes. You don't see players calling with terrible hands pre-flop. You don't see them call down with middle pair against three barrels, these sort of things. If you don't see any of that, not great. And then also, as I said earlier, you want deep stacks. So what you don't want is short stacks at the table. You can't win a lot of money against them. So make sure to follow these when you try to find a better table, because table selection is so important in live poker.